In 1992, Hollywood lost its legendary Rifleman, but Chuck Connors left behind a legacy far more complex than a black-and-white TV Western. From his secret role in Cold War diplomacy to shocking affairs that nearly derailed his stardom, Connors lived a life as dramatic as any gunslinger he ever portrayed. Today, on Prestige Buzz, the truth finally emerges: how a Brooklyn baseball player became a Soviet hero, why his 3 marriages ended in scandal, and the dark secrets he carried until his final days. Born Kevin Joseph Aloysius Connors on April 10, 1921, in Brooklyn, Chuck was the son of Irish immigrants. Growing up during the Great Depression, he learned the value of a hard day's work from his father, a longshoreman. Sports became his escape and his ticket out. By 14, his raw talent earned him a scholarship to Adelphi Academy, where he lettered in baseball, basketball, football, and track. After high school, over 25 colleges came knocking. He chose Seton Hall, but his time there was cut short by World War II. Joining the Army in 1942, the 6 feet 5 inches athlete was tasked with being a tank warfare instructor and later trained soldiers at West Point. It was during these years that his famous nickname took hold. While playing first base, he would constantly bellow to his teammates, "Chuck it to me." When the war ended, Chuck became a rare dual-threat professional. He joined the Boston Celtics during their inaugural 1946 season, famously becoming the first player in NBA history to shatter a glass backboard. But his heart was on the diamond. In 1949, he fulfilled his dream of playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers, later moving to the Chicago Cubs in 1951. Though his professional sports career was modest, his physical presence was undeniable. Chuck's transition to acting was pure serendipity. In 1952, while playing for the Los Angeles Angels, a minor league team, he hit a massive home run that caught the eye of MGM casting director Billy Gordon. Gordon handed him a business card in the locker room, telling the rugged ballplayer he belonged on screen. Initially dismissive, an injury a few weeks later gave Chuck the time to take the meeting. Within 3 days, he signed his first contract. His debut in Pat and Mike, 1952, saw him acting alongside legends Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Tracy was so impressed by the newcomer that he told him, "You've got something, stick with it." Chuck took that advice to heart. Between 1952 and 1958, he appeared in over 20 movies, including the Disney classic Old Yeller. His work ethic was relentless, totaling over 1,400 minutes of screen time across film and television, unknowingly preparing himself for the role that would define him forever. In 1958, The Rifleman premiered on ABC. Chuck played Lucas McCain, a widowed rancher raising his son, Mark Johnny Crawford. While he initially turned the role down due to low pay, the producers eventually offered him 5% ownership of the show, a move that made him a very wealthy man. To prepare, Chuck mastered the spin and fire technique with a modified Winchester 1892. The rifle featured a large lever loop and a trigger screw that allowed him to fire as fast as he could crank the lever. This flashy opening sequence became iconic. However, the show's soul was the relationship between Lucas and Mark. It was one of the first times TV explored the life of a single father. The bond felt so real that real-life widowers often wrote to Connors, thanking him for providing a roadmap for raising children alone. Chuck wasn't just the star, he was a story consultant, pitching episodes and ensuring Lucas remained a flawed, relatable human being rather than a cardboard hero. When The Rifleman ended in 1963 after 168 episodes, Chuck found himself trapped by his own success. He turned down 8 Western pilots in just 2 years, desperate to prove his range. He played a defense attorney in Arrest and Trial and a disgraced cavalry officer in Branded, but the shadow of Lucas McCain loomed large. His most powerful departure came in 1977 in the miniseries Roots. Chuck played Tom Moore, a cruel slave owner. It was a chilling, villainous performance that earned him an Emmy nomination and proved to the world that the good guy of North Fork had a formidable dark side. Behind the scenes, Chuck's personal life was far more turbulent than the wholesome image of Lucas McCain. He was married 3 times, and each union ended in heartbreak or controversy. Elizabeth Betty Riddell, 1948 to 1962, they had 4 sons, but the marriage crumbled as Chuck's fame grew. Rumors of infidelity were rampant, and Betty eventually filed for divorce after discovering a specific affair on a film set. Kamala Devi, 1963 to 1972, an actress of Indian-British heritage, their interracial marriage was a rarity in 1960s Hollywood. Despite their shared passion for the craft, Chuck's reputation for being unfaithful and their differing career goals led to their split. Faith Quabius, 1977 to 1980. Faith was 33 years younger than Chuck. The marriage lasted only 3 years and ended with Faith making troubling allegations of abuse linked to Chuck's drinking, claims Chuck denied, but which left a stain on his reputation. Hollywood insiders, including Joan Crawford, noted that while Chuck was incredibly charming, he couldn't stay loyal. These personal failings often cost him professional opportunities, as some actresses reportedly refused to work with him. One of the strangest chapters in Chuck's life was his role in Cold War diplomacy. In the 1970s, The Rifleman was one of the few American shows allowed in the Soviet Union. General Secretary Leonid Brezhnev was such a massive fan that he requested to meet Chuck during a 1973 summit in Washington. The two became fast friends. Brezhnev invited Chuck to Moscow, where the American actor was treated like royalty. Chuck even filmed a documentary titled Peace and Friendship to help bridge the gap between the two superpowers. Back home, Chuck was a staunch conservative. He was a vocal supporter of the Vietnam War and a close friend of Richard Nixon. He often argued with liberal co-stars like Charlton Heston and stood by his principles even when it threatened his career, famously stating, "I'd rather lose a job than give up my principles." In late 1991, Chuck gave fans one last gift. He appeared in the TV movie The Gambler Returns, reprising his role as Lucas McCain for a brief, 90-second cameo alongside Johnny Crawford. Seeing the father and son back together one last time was a poignant moment for millions of viewers. A lifelong heavy smoker, up to 3 packs a day, Chuck was diagnosed with lung cancer in 1992. On November 10, 1992, at the age of 71, he passed away from complications of pneumonia and cancer. Chuck Connors was a man of immense contradictions, a professional athlete in 2 sports, a beloved TV father with a messy personal life, and a Cold War diplomat who wasn't afraid to pick a fight for what he believed in. He was, in every sense, a giant of the American West. What do you think was Chuck Connors' most iconic moment? Let us know in the comments below.